Hey guys, let's talk about this week's episode of Masters of Sex. And we basically pick up where we left off with Bill and Virginia partaking in their own study. And this first scene is a sex scene, and it's awkward, it's uncomfortable. They don't look like they're really enjoying themselves, at least Bill doesn't. And while he's in the course of intercourse, he's saying, plateau, climax and resolution, and he's basically saying these three words as he's as they're occurring, and it's very unromantic, it's very scientific, and it's just awkward. It really is. And I mean, we already know that Bill has feelings for Virginia. We've seen it building up over the last few episodes, and we know that there is some chemistry there between the two of them. He respects her, and so you know that it's just sort of an awkward feeling because I think he's finally doing something that he's wanted to do for a while. And after they're done, they start talking about, how long they had their orgasms for and whether or not the missionary position is the best position to have a clitoral climax and all this stuff. And then, Bill asks if she wants to go out for something to eat, and she agrees, but then his wife calls and they had made plans to go out. And so, it's almost like he takes these moments and he kind of wants to turn it into something a little bit, not more, but you can tell that he definitely equates sex with romance, and Virginia does not. So she's obviously trying to say, I know where I am with this study, it's just professional. And you need to sort of look at it the same way. And there's an interesting scene when Bill's wife, Libby, comes to see her, and she's basically like, listen, my husband and I were not having sex. There's a big disconnect at home. Maybe you can help and not and fix his schedule so that he's not coming home so late all the time, and that he's not so tired when he gets home. And she hesitates at first because obviously she realizes why he's staying late because of the study. And then you can also see that she looks really guilty because she's sleeping with her husband, all in the name of science. And, so she kind of is just like, she feels bad, and she says she'll do what she can. When she confronts Bill with this, he's all annoyed that she has any audacity to discuss his marital issues while they're there and they're working. He basically says, listen, other doctors have used themselves as like lab rats, and they've tested things on themselves for science, and I don't see what the difference is here. And she's like, listen, I know why I'm doing this, and I'm doing it for the science too, and you just make sure that this isn't affecting your home life, because the second it does, then I don't want to do the study anymore with you. And so of course Bill quickly goes home and has sex with his wife so that he can continue having sex with Virginia. So it's kind of sad because, he treats his wife like it's like a Madonna horror complex. And, he doesn't ever want to be overly aggressive with her. And he's like, oh, we can't talk about this or we can't talk about that. Like, she's not a sexual being, and like she has to be very demure and everything. So he totally has like this Madonna horror complex with her, which is annoying. And we know he's been fantasizing about Virginia for weeks and weeks and weeks now. And, we've heard all the different sexual positions that she likes to be in, and how she takes control in the bedroom. So, he totally knows what he can get from Virginia, and he knows what he will allow himself to get from his wife. And in this moment, he basically says, he grabs her and he starts kissing her really aggressively, and they have sex. And so are they really having sex, or is it just so that he can go back and have sex with Virginia? I think it's the latter. So he goes back to the office and he basically says, listen, we can go back to doing the study because my home life is all resolved and I don't want to hear about it again. So she's like, all right. So they go and they do another night of study. And this time, the sex is far more intimate. And, they decided that they're going to do this technique, of course, where she sits on top of him and, she's sitting on her knees and she's basically like riding him like a horse. And so while they're doing this, like there's a whole lot of grunting and moaning, and you can just see that they're completely connecting. And while this is going on, there's a voiceover, and they're talking about how Virginia was really good at being a secretary and how she could anticipate his needs. And then you're also seeing this as they're having sex. And, in the moment, like he's getting all excited and she grabs his hand and she puts it on her buttocks. And, just so that he can like start squeezing and massaging her more. And, again, it's her anticipating what she needs and what he would like. And so, it was a perfect voiceover at that moment. And they have this, really not romantic, 'cause it's not romantic, but they have a very sexual encounter here. And then they basically both orgasm at the same time, which they had not done in the past. So, there's this moment where she like looks back and they have this moment, and I'm just thinking to myself, don't kiss, please don't do it. It's like that Pretty Woman moment. It's like, don't kiss him. And they don't, but they look longingly into each other's eyes. And then, they get dressed, and then she's like, okay, well, do you want to get something to eat and we can discuss the study? And he's like, nope, I gotta go home and see my wife. And she's like, oh, okay. And then it's this moment where it's this total shift. And he had been offering her a meal after they had their sexual encounter, a few sessions before this, and now the roles have reversed, and he's being very cold and just basically down to business. And she's thinking, like maybe we should go out and have something to eat, because they had this moment in this last encounter where they definitely connected. And so he leaves her, and she's sitting in the room alone, and she's staring into the through the glass window, and she's looking at the bed that they've just had sex on. And it's just this moment of sadness, and it looks like she's just sitting there kind of wishing she had more, and that this isn't just about sex, and maybe she wants to be more than just a sexual partner and part of this study. So it was very interesting to see the role reversal in that relationship, because obviously she cares about Bill Masters, but she's allowed herself to be very separate from all that. So it was very interesting to see that turn of event at the end, and we'll see, and it'll be very interesting to see where that goes. Now, in the B storyline, we had Provost Scully get attacked while he was waiting for his gay lover to see him before he was about to go off to New York. And when he was attacked, he was stabbed, and then Bill had to clean him up and sew him up, and he gave him like a tongue lashing, and it's like, hello, Bill, you're kind of doing the same thing that Provost is doing, except your lover is your scientist partner and his is gay. So it's like pot, meat, kettle, okay? But, it was a scene that they had basically saying, listen, you can't keep doing this. You're going to lose everything that you've worked so hard for, and your reputation will be ruined if anybody finds out that you're in this inappropriate relationship. So in the meantime, last week, Margaret was off having some very inappropriate relationships with Austin. And in this episode, it continued. They saw each other at a bar, and then she told Austin that her husband was supposed to be going out of town. So he came over, and the two of them, boom, like a bunch of rabbits just going at it. And all of a sudden, because of what happened to Provost, he comes home early. And you would think that she would be like, get out, jump through the window, go scurrying to your car with your pants down by your ankles. No, she comes down the stairs in her robe, and she's like, oh, I'm surprised that you're home so early. I wasn't expecting you. And then he's got this look on his face like, what's wrong? And she's basically like, go to your room and don't come out. And so the next day, she's standing in front of him, and he's reading the newspaper, and she gets really upset because she's like, listen, I just cheated on you with another man. Can you have some emotion? Can you have some kind of feeling about that? And he's basically like, well, I'm not happy, but what do you want me to do? And obviously he doesn't want to do anything, because he really, what can I say? Does he love his wife? I'm sure he loves her. He's not in love with her. He doesn't want to be her husband in that way. So she's like, what is wrong with you? And she basically like yells at him and tells him that he needs to get upset about this, and he just doesn't really. And so, she basically then goes on with her day, and she sees Austin again, and she's in this car with him, and she's basically telling him like how amazing she feels. And obviously she's, never felt this way before. She's got like her orgasms back, and she's just so happy. And I think she feels, rejuvenated, and she feels sexy, and her self-esteem has been completely transformed. And this terrifies him. So Austin goes to see like this shrink that he's been seeing, and he's basically like, we're just hooking up here, and she's getting all clingy on me. So I don't know where this is gonna go. He's obviously happy that his little Johnson downstairs is working again, but I don't think he's signed up for this because he also has a wife and a child, and I think he just wants to be ramping around and having fun. And if it's not going to be with Jane, it needs to be with somebody else. So speaking of Jane, Jane is now the new secretary for Bill, thanks to Virginia. And she will be working alongside the two of them, which will be kind of cool because at least there's a secretary that knows what's going on and isn't going to be all like, oh my goodness, what's going on over there? Like, you know, so I like that she knows what's happening and she's going to be Bill's secretary. And then we had some stuff with Ethan and what's her name? Vivian. And I mean, that's, you know, whatever. That's just kind of blah. And then Ethan was helping Virginia get her new car, co-signing, just whatever. Ethan, I don't know. I don't really know what I think about this character. He doesn't really do anything for me, and he's not really central to what's going on right now. Obviously, he's suspicious of Virginia and Bill doing some romping in the bed because he saw them two coming out of the door and everything. But you know, it's like they're doing the study. Okay, fine. You're going to tell his wife? Maybe. And now the wife has gone to Ethan because she wants to have another baby and she wants him to basically steal Bill's frozen sperms and try to get her pregnant again. So we'll see what happens, if that actually happens, or if Bill actually finds out what he's up to. So, yikes. I'm sorry for Ethan if he does. But all in all, a very good episode. I really enjoyed it. This study is becoming a tangled web for all of these people. I mean, it'll be very interesting to see what happens again between Bill and Virginia. How, you know, how much can they continue to say that this is just for science and that they're just doing a study before, you know, they actually start kissing and it turns into something completely different. I'm excited to see what happens, and I hope you are too. All right, guys, that's my review of Masters of Sex. I'll see you next week. Bye.